What's cracking, everybody? It's the Sleeper King, James Coe, here with you. Let's talk about running backs and scheme fits. And let me tell you why this matters. Because again, a running back has to match up with his team's running style well for him to succeed on the football field. Listen, a guy might be great in man gap, but he might suck in zone. All you got to do is look back to Dameon Pierce. Rookie season, came out gangbusters, looked awesome. But you know what? Houston at that time was running primarily this man gap scheme. Then guess what? They get a coaching change. Now what are they doing? Now they're focusing primarily on outside zone. It's a zone running scheme primarily there in Houston, right? And all of a sudden, Dameon Pierce, despite having a great rookie season, he's left out in the cold. He's not any good. And so we're going to look at these rookie running backs, and I'm going to share with you the charting that I have done that looks at whether or not they're good in man gap, whether or not they're good in zone, whether they're between the tackles guy, or if you want to see this guy bounce to the outside. Plus, we'll take a look at some depth charts and give you an overall match score between rookie running backs and their current team. Part one. First up, of course, it's ASHTON JEANTY there with the Las Vegas Raiders. While at Ohio State, Chip Kelly's offenses were overwhelmingly a man gap run scheme. A whopping 85% of QUINSHON Judkins' runs were on man gap concepts. Going back to QUINSHON Judkins and adding in TREYVEON Henderson as well, they ran to the outside about a third of the time. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but believe it or not, that's well above the prospect average, because in these spread offenses, man, most every single running back is running it right up the middle. As a point of reference, every single team in the NFL, every single one, ran the ball to the outside more than a third of the time. ASHTON JEANTY was great on these man gap concepts with over a 60% success rate. But man, when you isolate for man gap to the outside, JEANTY was just straight impossible to contain, posting an insane 94.7% success rate. And again, when you just isolate for outside runs, JEANTY was again dang near unstoppable. His 79% success rate on outside runs, that was tops in the class. So yeah, JEANTY's playing for a head coach who loves to run the ball, and he's playing under an offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly, who has a history of producing big-time backs. With his skills and with the coaching in place, it's a 15 out of 10 match. All right, let's talk about SKATTEBO. I loved this player. I could not believe he survived to the 4th round. Let's talk about tendencies when it comes to the Giants. They had the 5th highest inside run rate in 2024. Meanwhile, SKATTEBO, he was the best between the tackles runner I charted last year. His 62.5 success rate on inside runs, again, tops in the class. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone set up blocks better than SKATTEBO. He presses that hole so hard, it forces defenders to commit. And the moment they do, he uses his explosive lateral ability to get into another running lane. I cannot tell you how much fun I had charting SKATTEBO. It was a thing of beauty. The only problem is, it's a crowded room in New York. They've got a crafty veteran in Devin Singletary who knows Brian Dable's system inside and out, and clearly they trust him. They've also got this extremely exciting young player in Tyrone Tracy. I don't know how that depth chart is going to shake out. It's the only reason why I would say match score for SKATTEBO and the Giants, 7.5 out of 10. By the way, if you enjoy videos like this, man, consider hitting that like and subscribe button to this channel. And right now, RotoWire is going to give you 15% off any RotoWire subscription by using my code, KOH15. That's KOH 15. Check out RotoWire's draft kit, their mock draft simulator, and of course, all the rankings you need from some of the best analysts in the game. QUINSHON Judkins and the Browns. Kevin Stefanski used to be known for his primarily outside zone run concepts. Now he's leaning a little bit more into man gap stuff. But what has not changed is that Stefanski loves to kick it to the outside. The Browns had the 9th highest outside run rate in 2024 and the 7th highest outside run rate in 2023. And those were teams that were lacking a healthy Nick Chubb. In 2022, the last time Nick Chubb was rocking and rolling, guess what? The Browns had the most outside run attempts in the entire NFL. If you cannot run outside, you cannot thrive in a Stefanski scheme. So the $1 million question when it comes to QUINSHON Judkins, can he get to the outside? The charting numbers say Maybe. But me personally, I think he's going to be awesome. So I charted Judkins as having a 68.4% success rate on outside runs. That's just slightly above the prospect average in 2024. But if you look at this guy play, if you watch the film like I watched the film, I'm telling you, this guy's got all the ingredients to absolutely thrive running to the outside. He's 221 pounds. He ran a 4.48 40, and man, my boy Judkins has a head and shoulder fake that would make Allen Iverson proud. I like Jerome Ford. I don't love Jerome Ford. I think he's a great complementary back. I don't think there's any question in my mind that QUINSHON Judkins is going to be the lead back here, and I think he's going to eat. Max score, 8.5 out of 10. When the Chargers took OMARION Hampton in the first round, I was surprised. Let's start with the scheme fit. Shocking absolutely no one, the Chargers ran primarily a man gap scheme. They ran man gap at the 5th highest rate in the NFL last year. They were also in the top 3rd when it came to running the ball between the tackles. Again, I'm not breaking any news here. If you're going to be a running back playing for Jim Harbaugh, man, you better do some work in the trenches. That's what makes this pick a little bit odd to me. OMARION Hampton is a really good player. I just wouldn't say that he's great on the inside, and I definitely wouldn't say he's great in man gap. Of the 12 prospects I charted, OMARION Hampton ranked 6th in man gap success rate. And he was bang on the prospect average when we're talking about running between the tackles. All that being said, there's a reason why he was a first-round draft pick and a reason why pretty much everyone thought that he was the second best back available on the board. If you miss a tackle on OMARION Hampton, he will make you pay. Dude is like a firecracker in a soda can if he gets into space. He's 6 feet, 221 pounds, and he ran a 4.46. The guy's got athletic traits for days. But I think when you add it all together, again, they signed Najee Harris this offseason. I'm going to go ahead and say max score 5.5 out of 10. TREYVEON Henderson in New England. The last time we saw Josh McDaniels in a full-time role in the NFL was with the Raiders back in 2022. That year, his team was pretty heavy into the man gap stuff. They ran the 9th highest man gap rate in the NFL. And as with most man gap teams, his teams tended to lean on inside runs. So if we're looking for a running back that's good in man gap, they did a great job in finding TREYVEON Henderson. Bottom line is, you can't play this guy in his zone run scheme. His 33.3% success rate on zone last year, that was the worst in the class by a country mile. The 2024 prospect average was 56.9%, and the second lowest was actually Trevor Etienne at 47.6%. I will say this about Henderson, though. My guy is an absolute tone setter. If there's one word I would use to describe his game, it would be decisive, which is why he was much better in man gap than he was in zone. When he has to make a decision on these outside zone run plays, it's a little bit harder for him. But if you tell him, go to the A gap, he's going to the A gap and he's hitting it hard. And I know there's going to be some college football fans out there. There's going to be some TREYVEON Henderson fans out there. They say, well, he outperformed his teammate QUINSHON Judkins behind the same offensive line. Henderson averaged 7.0 yards per carry while Judkins averaged 5.5. I get it. But again, if you go back and watch the film, Henderson got better blocking. It's not the full story, but it's part of the story. And like I said, the decisive nature of Henderson's run style, I can't stress this enough. It was an absolute tone setter. You would have no idea Henderson is 202 pounds with the play style that he's got. Look, unfortunately for Henderson, the depth chart there in New England's also pretty deep. I think Ramondre Stevenson is likely to be the starter, with TREYVEON Henderson maybe working in as a 50-50 back. But the team also has Antonio Gibson, who I think is probably going to be the pass-catching option there in New England. So from a fantasy perspective, you add all that stuff in, max score 5.5 out of 10. Like and subscribe, follow for part 2.